Okay, what we're going to do is solve some story problems and kind of apply what we've learned in the last week or so. It says, a student sells small and large greeting cards. The small cards cost $3, the large cards cost $5. The student sells 25 cards. They make a total of $95. How many of each type of cards were sold? So you got small and large, what you're trying to figure out. Now, you've got 3 units. You got the small cards, the large cards, and then the cost. So with 3 units, you want to put your information into a grid. You're not going to make the box, the line, and the table and all that. That's with 2 units. But you don't want to make your box overly big. You need workspace down here. Now remember how to label this grid. You got the phrase together right there. And then down here you're always going to put how many units. And then the phrase per unit. And then the word total. Okay, always. Now, the rest of the table we got to look at our 3 units, small, large, and dollars. So the 2 things I'm buying are small and large. That's your independent units. So small and large. Dollars. We put dollars above total. That's a dependent unit. And dollars above per unit. So when you have 3 units, if I ask you which 2 are the independent, you'd say small and large. Okay. The dependent is the dollars, but don't put dollars there. Now let's fill out our table. You're going to put an equals down here. And the total cost is $95. So the money total together is $95. So I take that out. That's done. Now find me how many units. What's the only number in there that is not related to dollars? It would be this 25 here. But it doesn't say if that's small or large. It's just 25 cards. So we need to assume that that's together. So 25 goes here. Now I fill out the rest of this with variables. Small is going to be our x, and then large is going to be our y. Because see, we have to solve for x and y then. Now let's go to the second row, cost per unit. Okay, how much does a small cost? It costs $3. Large, those cost $5. Now I don't fill this in here. Okay, by the way, up here you'll put equals. X, y equals 25. I don't put anything in here on this assignment. Okay. Then, money total for small. Well, we take how many units, which is x, times cost per unit 3. So that's written as 3x. Okay. Now over here, we take our variable y times 5. We can't actually multiply because those are unknown quantities. So that's going to be 5y. Now, you have 2 equations you need to work with. Okay. You have an x and a y, so there's 2 equations. X plus y equals 25, and then 3x plus 5y equals 95. So I'm going to make a cross kind of so I can organize my work. Now, I write down my first equation. X plus y equals 25 from the top row. And in the second equation, we have 3x plus 5y equals 95. Now we're going to solve for x and y. Obviously we're not going to graph, okay? So we circle our equals, and we don't have a base variable, so we use E for elimination. So I separate these. Remember, these are 1 coefficients, and that doesn't add to 0, and that doesn't add to 0. So you can't just change the signs because you don't have the same number here or here, okay? So I multiply. I have a 3 here, so I'm going to multiply the top by 3, okay? And then the rest of the equation by 3. I'll times this by 3 and this by 1. Okay, so 3 times 1x is 3x. 3 times 1y is 3y. And then 3 times 25 is 75. Now, in the other equation, it's just going to stay the same because we're just multiplying it by 1. When I multiply something by 1, it's just the identity property, meaning it just remains the same. Okay, now let's try this again. Now nothing adds to 0. The x's don't become 0, but they at least have the same number in front now. Okay, so if they have the same number in front, if I make that negative, then they'll add to 0, but then I have to make the rest of this into negatives. Okay, so add. That makes 0x. That's negative 2y. And then 75 plus negative 95 is negative 20. Remember to make that last one negative. Now 0x takes out the x. Now, a couple of you, negative 2 and y, it's a times operation. So to solve, you need to divide each side by the negative 2. Okay. And then negative 20 divided by negative 2 is 10. So y is equal to 10. So go up into your table, and over that y, put 10. Okay. So large is equal to 10. So I put 10 for large. I've solved that. Now, I'm going to do 10. I'm going to find the x the old-fashioned way. Then I'm going to tell you a quick way to find it much quicker. Okay, there is no quicker way to find the y. Now, to find your x, use one of the two original equations. Use your 1x plus 1y equals 25. And then answer for y, 10, okay, that's going to replace y. So I need to take the 1 times the 10, that's 10. And then I have 1x plus 25, or 1 times 10 is 10, my bad. 1x plus 10 equals 25. Okay. All right, so you got times and plus. So you take out your 10, that's going to be 15. And then you could divide by 1 or just get rid of the 1 because dividing by 1 is still going to be 15. Now, a quicker way to get that is if I know x plus, what number plus 10 is 25? Well, we could just take 25 and subtract 10 from that to get 15 if you want to get it quicker. Okay, that's the problem. You buy apples and oranges. The apples cost $2 per pound, while the oranges cost $2.25 per pound. You bought 25 pounds of fruit. The total cost is $52.25. How many pounds of apples and how many pounds of oranges did you buy? So pounds of apples, pounds of oranges. So again, 3 units. You got the apples, the oranges, and the dollars. So I set up a grid then to develop my equations. I don't use that side box. That's with 2. Okay, so together, how many units per unit and total. Now the 2 independent units are the apples and the oranges. So apples and oranges. They come by the pounds. So then dollars total, dollars per unit. Now, what's the total cost together? The total cost together is 52.25. Okay. Now, let's jump up to the top row. Find me the only number in this problem that is not related to cost, not related to money. That's what how many units means. 25. But when you read it, it says you bought 25 pounds of fruit. It doesn't say if that's apples or oranges, so 25 is together. And then I fill these unknowns in with an x and a y. And that makes an equation up there. Okay. Now there's going to be an equation down here. Now I fill out the next one. Okay, cost per unit of apples. Well, the apples cost $2. Okay. And my oranges, they cost $2.25. So to find the money total for the apples, we take our unknown quantity of x multiplied by 2, and that's 2x. Don't put x2, it's 2x. Then my unknown quantity y times 2.25, and that's 2.25y. You got to go slow when they throw these decimals. So again, there's 2 equations. The x plus y equals 25, and then the 2x plus 2.25y equals 52.25. Okay, so I write down my system that I've developed. Okay, it's a system because there's 2 equations. X plus y equals 25, and then 2x plus 2.25y equals 52.25. Okay, now here's the equals. We don't have a base variable, so we're going to use the elimination method. Okay, so I apply 1s in the front. Nothing adds to, this doesn't add to 0, neither does that. And I don't have the same number here or here, so I need to multiply. So I multiply by 2 and by 1. So I multiply the rest of this equation on top by 2 and the rest of this by 1. So 2 times 1x is 2x, 2 times 1y is 2y, and then 2 times 25 is 50. Now on bottom you have 2x, it's just the identity property. Okay, now let's try this again. Now I have the same number here. If I made one of the two x's into a negative, I'd be good. Okay, negative, but then I have to make the rest of the bottom negative. So that makes 0x. Remember, a positive and a negative, the same thing, gives me good. Now be careful here. You take your 2 and add negative 2.25, and that's negative 0.25y. Don't just put 25, you need to put the decimal. Then I take a 50 and add negative 52.25, that's negative 2.25. 0x takes out the x, remember what operation, we have times, so to undo that we divide, okay? By not just 25, you got to get negative 0.25. Okay, then I divide. So negative 2.25 divided by negative 0.25 is 9. Okay. Okay, so go up here. Y is 9, so 9 oranges. Now to find the x, you can just take 25 minus 9, that gives you the answer, or you can just put 9 into the first equation if you want to practice that way. So y is 9, so I replace the y variable with 9, and then 1 times 9 gives me a 9 product. 1x plus 9 equals 25. So minus 9, that's 16. Divide by 1, and that's 16. Okay. So again, 25 minus 9 up there would be 16. If you want to do it that, find your second answer that way, by all means. Okay. Okay, next one. At a football game, student tickets cost $3 each. Adult tickets cost $5 each. The school sold 700 tickets. They made a total of $3,078. How many adult tickets and how many student tickets were sold? Adult tickets, student tickets. Okay. So again, 3 units. You can see that, student tickets, the adult tickets, and the dollars. Okay, so we have together how many units per unit in total. Okay. Okay, so students and adults, so student tickets, and I don't care if you abbreviate, it's up to you. Student tickets, adult tickets, as long as you know what you're looking for and how to set it up. And then dollars total, dollars per unit. So the cost together is $3,078. That is your total money total together, $3,078. Okay. How many units? Okay. The only thing I see about how many units, that's a number without the dollar sign, is 700. Okay. But it doesn't say if those are adults or students, so that's together. So to separates, I need 2 different variables, x and y. You can use s and a if you want to. I would stick with x and y. Okay, that's done. Now, $3 each, that's your student tickets. And then your adult tickets are $5. So I take x times 3, and then that can be 3x. And then I take my y times 5. So that would be 5y. Okay, so I have the equation down here, but I have another equation up here. Okay, so that's a system. So x plus y equals 700, and then 3x plus 5y equals 3,078. Okay, again, you're not going to have a variable by itself. You apply the elimination method. Okay, so I got a 3, so I times 3 and by 1, because right now nothing adds to 0. Okay, and you don't have the same coefficient on either the x or y, so you have to times it. Okay, so 3 times 1x is 3x. 3 times 1y is 3y, and 3 times 700 is 2,100. Now on bottom it's just the identity property. It will remain the same. Now let's try this, okay? Now nothing adds to 0, that's 6 and that's 8, but these two have the same number in front now. So negative, -5, negative 3,078. So there's my 0x, which takes that out. And then you got negative 2y. And then when I add here, remember to add with the negative, okay, if you're going to use a calculator. Negative 978. So it's all good. We end up dividing a negative by a negative. So negative 978 divided by negative 489 is 2. Okay. Or no, wait a second. Negative 978 divided by negative 2 is 489. Okay, so the Y, the adult tickets, are 489. So the adults here, sorry, that copy machine did not go through that. Adults is there. Okay, then your students, you can either just take 700 minus 489, or you can just put 489 into one of the equations. 1x plus 1y equals 700, and I'm going to put 489 in for the y, okay, because that's my first answer. So I find that product. 1 times 489 is 489. So I have 1x plus 489 equals 700. Then you have times and plus, so you take out the number that you're adding first, the number not multiplied by x, and that's 211. And dividing by 1 is kind of pointless, it would just be 211. Okay. Okay, last problem. A farmer's market is selling apples for $1.99 per pound and oranges for $1.50 per pound. You buy 12 pounds of fruit. You spend a total of $21.92. How many pounds of apples and how many pounds of oranges did you buy? So there's your 3 units. You see them. So you go right to the grid whenever you see that there'd be 3 units in the problem. So together, then apples and oranges, they're sold by the pound, okay? And then how many units per unit and total. Okay, so together the total cost is $21.92. Okay, that's going to form an equation down there, but there's going to be an equation somewhere else. Okay. So how many units? You got 12, okay? That's how many units. The number that's not with a dollar sign is how many units. 12 pounds of fruit. Well, again, that's the apples and oranges together. So the separate would be x and y. And that forms an equation. X plus y equals 12. Now, apples, they cost $1.99 per pound. And then the oranges, they cost $1.50 per pound. So I take x times $1.99. X is an unknown quantity, so I just write 1.99x. Then y times 1.50. Y is an unknown quantity, so it'd be 1.50y. Okay, then I go to my chart. So I have 2 equations. I know that x plus y equals 12. And I also know that $1.99x plus $1.50y is equal to $21.92. Okay. Okay, so definitely I need to use the elimination method. Okay. Obviously nothing's going to add to 0 and you don't have anything that's the same, so we multiply by 1.99 on top, by 1 on bottom, but then we have to multiply the rest of the equation by $1.99 and the rest of this one by 1. Okay. So it's going to be 1.99x plus 1.99y. Then I take 1.99 times 12, 23.88. Remember to get your decimals in there, don't forget about them. And then 1.99x plus 1.50y. 21.92 times 1 is 21.92. Okay. Okay, now I have the same coefficient there. If I made that negative, I would get my 0 on the x, and then that would be negative, and that would be negative. So then I add, and that's 0x. Then I take $1.99. Remember, you're adding negative 1.50, which is 0.49. Don't just put 49, okay? Then we take 23.88 and add negative 21.92, and that's 1.96. So 0x takes the x out, okay? And then we divide each side by 0.49, the decimal, not just 49. You got to get the decimal in there, okay? Because 49 and 0.49 are not the same. So 1.96 divided by 0.49 is 4. Okay, so 4 pounds of oranges. And then what plus 4 is 12? Well, we could just take 12 minus 4. I mean, you could put the 4 into the equation if you want for practice, okay? Put y as 4, or you could just subtract 12 minus 4, okay? Product of 1 and 4 is 4, so it's 1x plus 4 equals 12, okay? I take the 4 away. That's 8. Divide by 1, that's going to be 8 still, okay? I don't even divide by 1, I just kind of take the 1 off, because 1 times 1 is irrelevant factor.